small incidents magnify, like a stone thrown into water, until the cause of the disturbance and what it really means is hidden by the ripples of the waves, touching everything, even shores for which the waves were never intended. Who knows what a stone carelessly thrown may bring? What fortune? What misfortune?
I like this time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to me a man could be pretty content to spend the rest of his life right in this spot, contemplating nature.
You'd be so happy when December got here, with the snow all up around your ears. What would you do without all the kids? Fine school teacher you'd make with nobody to teach.
Always some little thing to spoil a perfect dream, isn't there? Well, let's head for home. Like to get Ethel off the highway before dark.
Do you ever have the feeling sometimes that Ethel just isn't going to make it all the way home?
Now, don't you worry about Ethel. As long as she has 3 wheels, she'll get us there.
Henry George, school teacher. Come on, nature boy. You got a home and responsibilities to face. The citizens of Moreland await you.
And you say this teacher assigned the book for your English class to read?
Well, yes, but...
Ernie, what would you say if I told you that this book your Mr. Jordan gave you to read is on a list of subversive publications I got in the mail last week?
Subversive? Mr. Jordan wouldn't do a thing like that, not on purpose.
How do you know he wouldn't? What do you really know about this fellow Jordan?
Well, he's a nice guy, that's all, Dad. And he's a good teacher. He gets you really interested in what he's teaching.
Yeah, I'll bet he does. I'm getting interested in what he's teaching myself. Mighty interested, as a matter of fact. And I believe there are other people in this town that'll be interested, too. Hello, J.D. This is Ernest Hughes. What do you know about this Henry Jordan at the high school? You're right, I am mad. Got a book here my son Ernie brought home. Deep Torrent by James Brown. Well, I'll tell you what about it. It's subversive. It's on the list. This fella Jordan put the book on a recommended reading list he gave the kids in the English class. Looks to me like this red business is getting a foothold right in our own schools.
That's serious business, Ernest.
I'll say it's serious business. Got to get to the bottom of it.
I'll find out what I can about Jordan. I had no idea this was going on. Franklin, J.D. Scott speaking. Ever hear anything about the teacher at the high school, a Henry Jordan, being a communist?
Communist? No, don't believe I have. Where'd you get that story?
Ernie Hughes called me on the phone a while ago. I thought I ought to check with you.
Look here, is this the same Henry Jordan that teaches my boy in Sunday school? Fran, what's the pastor's number? What? Dr. McMillan.
Who did you say this is? What?
Who was it?
I don't know. Some man wanted to talk about Henry Jordan.
What about him?
I couldn't get the fellow to say. Henry must have done something because this man certainly was disturbed about Henry and the Sunday school.
How could he possibly have done anything in the Sunday school that you wouldn't have known about?
I can't imagine. I can't imagine what this is all about.
Oh, listen, I've got them in the print shop. I mean, they're printing right now.
Okay, kids, I think it's about time to go.
Well, Ernie, paper goes to press tomorrow. How's your editorial coming?
Okay, I've got it done.
Fine. You know, this recreation center idea of yours is good. And I'm really proud of you for the stand you've taken on it. Say, what's your hurry?
I've got something on my mind.
Well, can I help?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, Chuck, excuse me.
Henry, Ann just called, and I know it's late, but we're not going to be able to make it tonight.
Not make it? Couldn't you make it just for supper? Helen's been planning...
I'm sorry, Henry. We just can't make it.
Okay.
Henry.
Yes?
Nothing.
Hi.
Hi. Didn't Chuck's wife call you?
Ann? Why, no.
They aren't coming.
But everything's all ready. I don't understand. Is somebody sick or something?
I don't know. Chuck just said they couldn't make it.
That's not like Chuck and Ann.
Honey, I'm sorry. That's what I say. What do we care? Our Father, bless this food which we are about to eat, as we give thanks to Thee for Thy many blessings, and grant Thy forgiveness as we forgive others in Thy name. Amen. It's been an odd day all around. Must be the weather.
Must be. I saw Jane Barnes at the grocery this morning. I thought sure she saw me, but she acted as though she didn't.
Maybe she didn't recognize you in your present condition. What do you want to bet? That's Chuck and Ann.
Chuck must have been kidding you. What is it?
Jordan, we know you're kind. This town doesn't want you. Get out.
What is it? What does it mean?
Must have been one of the kids. Somebody's gotten riled up about a test grade or something.
Would one of your students do something like this?
They might. You know how kids are. I'll find out about this tomorrow.
Henry. Hello, Henry.
Dr. McMillan, a little surprised to see you here.
Dr. McMillan just dropped by for a minute, and we just want to talk to you. Sit down, Henry. I hardly know how to put this to you, Henry, because I'm not sure that I know what I'm talking about. But, well, let me ask you a question. Are you in any kind of trouble?
Trouble? Not that I know of. What are you talking about?
We don't know. That's the problem. I had a phone call about you the other night. The person who called didn't say anything directly, but the implication was that you're mixed up in something. And the thing is, Henry, I've had the same kind of calls about you as a member of our church and a Sunday school teacher.
Why, you've known me all my life, both of you. What is it you think I've done?
We don't think you've done anything. We're just trying to get to the bottom of this.
What is this? All the things that happened yesterday and now this. I got a note last night telling me to get out of town. My friends look at me and don't even see me. And now this. What's going on?
We don't know what's going on, Henry. That's what we're trying to find out.
But how can we find out?
Well, are you planning to go to the PTA meeting tonight?
I don't know if I should. I'm almost afraid to.
Maybe you'd better plan to be there. If whatever this is has anything to do with the school, and that's what the person who called me implied, then it's bound to be brought up at the PTA meeting tonight. He's right. I'll come by and pick you up. We'll go together.
Well, sure, I'll go. If there's any chance of finding out what's going on around here, I'll go. I just can't understand it.
As I understand it, that's what a PTA is for. And I see no reason why this subject shouldn't be discussed tonight. We can't shut our eyes to this. Let's get it out in the open. If there's a real danger here, we ought to know about it.
Yes, Mr. Hughes.
I'm inclined to agree with Mrs. Johnson. I believe this business should be brought out in the open. Now, I'm not going to pull any punches, but I know there's a real danger, and I'm going to point it out to you. Tonight, there sits in this room, right here among us, a man who's trying to poison the minds of our children. You've read about these people sneaking their way into our schools and even our churches, but if you're like me, you never thought you'd find one right in your own midst. And I, for one, would like to know what Mr. Henry Jordan has to say for himself.
Mr. Hughes, are you accusing Henry Jordan of subversion?
That's what I said.
May I ask, on what ground?
It seems to me that any teacher who makes his classes read subversive literature is obviously a subversive himself. And I know what I'm talking about because my son Ernie brought one of these books home. A book Mr. Henry Jordan assigned for his classes to read.
Mr. Hughes, may I ask the title of this subversive book you say I assigned?
Deep Torrent by James Brown.
Mr. Hughes, I can appreciate your concern, but let me assure you that Deep Torrent is not subversive literature. It's long been recognized.
Oh, I expect you to deny it, Jordan. That book is on a list of subversive publications, and I have the list right here to prove it.
Mr. Hughes, I can assure you I have no intention of ever...
Here's proof. How can you argue with it?
Mr. Travis?
The only way that we can really get this fellow Jordan is to take this business to the school board.
Go board.
I move we adjourn.
Meeting adjourned. Meeting adjourned. It was the only thing I could do. I don't know what else you could have done. They were completely out of hand.
It'll all work out, Henry. Let's go home.
And that's why Mr. Hughes accuses me of being a communist, because of that book.
Henry.
And that's why these other things have been happening. Chuck and Ann and young Ernie and that note in the door. All because of that book.
All the years we've worked and saved in this town for our home, now for the baby. Henry, for the sake of the baby, you've got to tell them it was all a mistake, that you didn't know anything about the book. They'll understand if you'll just
No,
tell...
Helen.
Well, why not?
It wouldn't work. Don't you see? It would be like admitting I've done something wrong. And I haven't. You know that, don't you, Helen? I haven't done anything wrong. My only mistake was in not knowing about that list of Mr. Hughes.
How could you have known?
Mr. Hughes knew about it. I should have known about it, too.
Isn't there anything we can do?
I don't know. Looks like the damage has been done. No matter what happens, people are going to talk. People are going to talk.
I wouldn't have believed that of Henry Jordan. I've known him since he was a boy.
You just can't be sure who you can trust these days.
You mind what I tell you. If you catch up with him, you're likely to find a lot of others just like him. Seems like you can find them everywhere.
I don't know. It kind of sounds like a lot of talk to me.
Well, all I can say is, I sure feel sorry for that little wife of his with the baby coming and all. He sure wasn't thinking about her when he got mixed up in this.
And it wouldn't surprise me if the high school principal and that preacher wasn't in on this thing, too. They've been mighty quick to stand up for him.
Yeah. And if those two are in it, there's no telling how much of this stuff has been pushed off on our kids.
Ernie Hughes' boy is a good example. My daughter says he's Jordan's pet pupil. Well, if this editorial is any example, I'd say plenty of this red business is rubbed off on him. Notice the choice of words here. Now, this word slum, that's big city radical talk. And take this idea that's dangled in front of people, this big fancy recreation center. Somebody's going to have to pay for that. Whose money? Yours and mine. Oh, it's an old game of something for nothing. Handouts and socialism.
That doesn't sound like Ernie. Sounds more like Jordan was telling him what to say.
And I tell you, there's nothing worse than corrupting the minds of our kids.
Yeah, it's no wonder you'd stand up for him. Jordan's got you right under his thumb. How can you fall for that stuff, Ernie? What stuff? I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what we mean. This propaganda stuff you've been throwing around.
You're crazy. I don't know anything about any propaganda. What about your editorial? Well, what about it?
My dad says it looks like it came right out of the Daily Worker. Who wrote this? You or Jordan?
Where do you get this stuff, Ernie? This Recreation Center for Juvenile Delinquency. A recreation hall isn't going to do you any good.
What about this editorial?
Hello, son.
Hello.
What's the matter, son?
Nothing.
A minute, Ernie. Ernie? All right, son, what's bothering you? Ernie!
Now I'm a communist.
You're a what?
The kids say I'm a communist, like you say Mr. Jordan is.
Why, that's ridiculous. Who ever got an idea like that?
Several of them. Mr. Jordan and I get along all right. I'm editor of the school paper, and he's the advisor, and I write an editorial, and he approves it, and that makes us both communists.
Oh, that's nonsense, Ernie. They can't call you a communist, not only more than that.
And what are they calling Mr. Jordan one for?
Well, now, that's different, son.
How's it different?
Well, he made his class read a subversive book, didn't he?
That's what everybody's saying, but they're saying that I wrote a subversive editorial.
That makes me mad, Ernie. That just makes me good and mad. They're trying to mix you up in this dirty mess. Who are they to say that your editorial is subversive?
Well, who are you to say that? read the book, Dad? You even read the book?
Holding the school board meeting in here tonight because of the interest that's developed in this meeting. May I ask you please to maintain some order that we can get this business over with. Now please, let's carry on.
Mr. Chairman, we can appreciate your desire for order, but I think you can see that we're here tonight because we want action. That's right. This creeping communism has gone far enough. It's got to be killed right here tonight.
My husband and I have been wondering why something hasn't been done before now.
Is there any reason why the members of this board are afraid to take action?
I can assure you that this school board is prepared to take whatever action is necessary. But we feel it is our duty to see this thing through. And now, please, can we have order?
Yeah, order.
Yes, Dr. McMillan.
Friends, I can't tell you how deeply troubled I've been by the problem here. You see, I've known Henry Jordan since he was a boy. I know his father and his mother, and I know the kind of people they've always been as members of my church. I know Henry Jordan is a devout and dependable man of God, and a man who is that can't possibly be what you've accused him of being. To my way of thinking, he has been victimized.
Excuse me, Dr. McMillan, but maybe you've been victimized. We've got proof. Ernie Hughes can bear me out on that.
If you'll permit me a moment, Dr. McMillan. If there's a man here tonight guilty of misdoing, I'm that man. I charged Henry Jordan with subversion. I did it in what I thought was good faith. But I find out now that it was really prompted by ignorance. I've read the book. I've read the book. This Deep Torrent by James Brown. If I'd done it in the first place, I could have saved Mr. Jordan all the hurt I know I've caused him, and all the hurt it's caused even my own son. Deep Torrent was written over 60 years ago and has been in the school library since I was a boy. It's a novel, and as far as I'm concerned, although I don't like the book, it is not subversive. That's the proof, and the only proof we have against Henry Jordan. And I hope that Mr. Jordan and all of you can accept my deepest and most sincere apologies for the mess I've stirred up here.
Oh, blue jeans. Oh, Tommy, you look like a real boy in these. Hey, look here, son. Come on, look at your present. Did you ever see such a sleepy head? Well,
This is a very happy time for you, isn't it, Henry?
Certainly a contrast to what it was before. I wonder if you know how we felt. I think it's the most desolate feeling I've ever known when the people you live with all of a sudden turn against you. Well, anyway, it's all over now.
And I believe the town may have learned a lesson from what happened to you, Henry. People were beginning to get suspicious of each other. You know, it's a funny thing.
Jordan, you never fooled us. Get out while you can.
I guess it's going to be a bigger job than we thought.
Small incidents magnified, like a stone thrown into the water, until the cause of the disturbance and what it really means is hidden by the rippling of the waves, touching everything, even shores for which the waves were never intended. Who knows what a stone carelessly thrown may bring? Who knows?